Welcome back to Daybreak Grenada. As most of you should have listened to last night. The Prime Minister had an address, and so with me now is Mr. Steele, who you should be very familiar with on the show, as well as Mr. Henry Joseph. So good morning to both of you.
Morning, sir. Yeah, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Good. So I brought you guys are both here. We're gonna just talk a little bit about the Prime Minister's address last night and what he had to say. What would you say were the most important aspects of his address last night?
Well, thank you very much. I believe basically the Prime Minister was endeavoring to give hope once again to the nation, because I believe he thinks that what is most important to Grenadians is the creation of jobs. So the main thing that he focused on last night was the creation of jobs that would take place, I would say, after March 2012. I think that was the main focus. Of course, he also mentioned the situation with what went on in St. David's just about a month ago, because most people seem to be still very concerned as to the behavior of the police and, of course, the very unfortunate death of Mr. Bartholomew. So once again, he was saying to the nation, look, we are aware that an unfortunate incident took place. We are going to take steps to ensure it doesn't happen in the future. We are going to give the policemen some more training and look after them in a better way. So hopefully there would be no need for these kind of things to happen in the future.
Okay. Do you think that he responded effectively to the Oscar Bartholomew issue? And I say that because CBC Canada, and I want to make sure I get this right, has reported that the Prime Minister has deflected calls for police inquiry. That was the headline of the title. And the first line says, while he says Grenada will not tolerate any human rights abuse, the Prime Minister of the tiny Caribbean island is refusing to order a full-scale inquiry into allegations of systemic police misconduct. What would your comments be?
Well,
on
I don't know that that is necessary at this stage. It seemed to me that what is more critical at this point is that the judicial process should run its course. 5 policemen have been charged. They were granted bail. I am not absolutely certain when the case is coming up, but I would believe that within the next 6 months, these guys will be brought to trial, and if found guilty, clearly, as it says, if you do the crime, then you'll have to do the time, right? After that, I could see then this call for a total inquiry into the police force and the general way of behavior can take place. But I don't really agree with the two going side by side, because that could prejudice what's going to take place as far as the trial is concerned.
Okay. I mean, Mickey, any comments?
But no, I would agree with Mr. Joseph there. The matter is in the hands of the courts. It's an investigation going on. Once there is some sort of outcome there, then a decision can be made as to how to proceed or so. The whole incident is unfortunate. But I think I would like to focus on the Prime Minister's speech more than that incident that occurred over the Christmas holidays. I agree again with Mr. Joseph when he said that the Prime Minister endeavored to give us hope. But I think that's all he did, was endeavor to give us hope, and did not kind of produce or give examples of any progress. He came to us in September and said that there was this amazing bunch of projects that were going to start. And he's come to us almost 5 months later to say that this amazing bunch of projects that are going to start. And Mr. Joseph has alluded that quite possibly this amazing bunch of projects may start after March, not before. So basically what we got from the Prime Minister, what I got from the Prime Minister's speech last night was one, he's sensitive to some of the issues that have occurred that are unfortunate. But two, nothing else has happened.
You know, of course, I am not part of government. Let me make that absolutely clear. However, what I do understand, especially when you're getting funding from international organizations, it is a very time-consuming process. And notwithstanding the fact that the Prime Minister may have announced in September that, look, we are negotiating, projects are going to start, but let me just point out, as far as I am aware, the project in Grenville, the Market Square project, has started. I see work going on the pavilion in Tantine, the Market Square in St. George's. So all these have started. There is a term that says boots on the ground. Boots are not on the ground yet in a few of the projects that have been mentioned, but I sincerely believe and extremely confident that come March, more of these projects would be on the way.
Okay.
Right? Because it takes time. You've got a lot of paperwork, a lot of negotiations, and especially in the current economic climate, it will take a while before funding starts flowing. But it will start flowing.
Again, I agree with him in that there were some groundbreaking ceremonies in those various projects, and there aren't boots on the ground as yet. I'm just curious as to what is it, because it's a second reference to March. What's happening in March that's going to make a difference?
No. When I said March,
why is March a benchmark?
No. If you plan and you take all circumstances into consideration, none of the projects funding would be coming on stream by that date, right? In 2 or 3 cases that I am aware of. There's some that would be coming on stream in May, in June. I mean, it's a process.
I was just concerned you were drawing a reference to the budget.
No, I mean, I only said March because that's the first time that a major project, that's the first month of the year that a major project would be coming on stream.
That's the first time anything significant is going to happen.
And after that, you will find a flow of projects.
So, which we didn't get from the Prime Minister's speech, but I'm glad that Mr. Joseph is here, in that nothing is going to happen until March.
Well,
nothing significant, sorry.
See, I have attended meetings where I got the distinct impression that certainly by March, those projects would be on the way.
And this is things like the teaching hospital and the feeder roads?
No. I think the teaching hospital would be a bit optimistic. I don't think you would see any major happening there before early next year. Definitely the feeder road by June, right? The Market Square in St. George's, I can say that should start by March. There's also some road rehabilitation projects that should get going by May, June.
Okay. Now, the Prime Minister also drew attention to the land that Grand Beach is currently on in Grand Anse. Do you have any idea what the government's intention is to do with the property once they attain it, and how they plan on attaining it, when they plan on attaining it by?
I am aware, as chairman of the Industrial Development Corporation. However, I don't think at this moment I am at will to reveal what the plans are. I will leave that to the Minister of Finance. Right, but as the Prime Minister indicated, in 2008, the property was virtually given away. This trend has to be reversed. It's been a very time-consuming process, but again, in a month or 2, the property would revert to Grenadians. And what would actually happen to the buildings, because the buildings, although they belong to the government, it's been leased to Mr. Nickolas. So what's exactly going to happen there? As I say, I am not at will at this stage, even though I am aware, right? But I'm not at will to disclose it.
I would reserve comment because obviously Mr. Joseph has alluded to the fact that negotiations are still in progress, and we wait to see what the outcome is before any comments can be made, rather than jeopardize any of those discussions.
Okay, fair enough. What is it that you think, and your view, is needed to bring Grenada out of the recession in 2012?
In my opinion, to bring Grenada out of the recession in 2012, the same thing was needed in 2011 and 2010, action. I think the government seems to agree that projects do need to happen. I think the government has to admit that projects have not happened as yet because they're talking about projects to happen. So we are on the same page on that. The difference is as to who can make the projects happen and when these projects will happen.
Okay. And you're saying March?
Well, let's say the beginning March. I agree that it's been off to a very, very, very slow start. But one have to take into consideration the economic circumstances that exist in the world would not enable projects to go along as if we were in 2005 or in 2006, right? I mean, one knows that, for example, in the United States, United Kingdom, in fact, throughout Europe, money is virtually non-existent. Consequently, the funding is not available to do what needs to be done. And I think that is one of the major reasons why things have not happened. As I said, the population as a whole are concerned that things are not happening, but I think they should really bear in mind that the economic conditions that prevail at the moment does not enable things to be done in a much more quick fashion, than is happening now. But I am confident, right? I say that with a little bit of restraint, but I feel confident that by the end of the first quarter, things are going to get going.
Okay. And you think these projects are enough to turn things around, or are they really a start?
I think it's a case of timing and how these projects are structured. The fact of the matter is that projects are going on in our Caribbean neighbors, the countries, and so nothing has been happening in Grenada of significance, but you do have development going on in our neighboring countries. Not to the level, I agree with Mr. Joseph, not to the level of 2005. In the world as a whole, development is not going on to the level of 2005, but development is going on, except here. So we do need to have some sort of acceleration. We do need to have some sort of urgency on the issues, because at the end of the day, it is not simply the benchmark of the progress of the government. While there isn't much happening, the people out there are suffering. So how much longer are we prepared to use the excuse of economic conditions for them, just those individuals who are unemployed, those individuals who are near to or at the breadline, simply to say, well, hold on, wait a minute, it's not us, and we're not going to do anything until the world economic situation changes.
Okay.
Well, Nikki, to say that things are happening in the other islands, take that with a little pinch of salt. I can say to you that the economic reality throughout the OECS is indeed at this moment bleak. If you read the last central bank report, you would see that only 2 islands experienced growth in 2011, and Grenada was one of them, right? So it is clear, right, if there is no growth, right, except for 2 islands, that very little is happening. Okay?
Growth is not how we are measuring that the projects being created or jobs being created. So a significant amount of jobs were lost throughout the region since 2005. The fact is that if a government is proactive and is creating jobs now, they're not going to see a measurement in growth because they're catching up to 2005. My comment simply is that so far Grenada isn't catching up as yet. It still keeps going down, whereas our other OECS brothers and sisters are beginning to catch up. They are beginning to get their projects going. as last year as well. Airports, road construction, etc. have started. So capital investment or infrastructure investment has started in those islands. It has not started here. We have broken ground on a number of projects, cut ribbons, and started cleanup. But we're yet to see concrete bricks, etc. come out, and we're yet to see the jobs created, we're yet to see the money come into the economy. Now it will take a while once that happens for there to be growth, as Mr. Joseph refers to. I agree. But what I am saying is that throughout the region, that process has started, and we are much further behind. We have not started that process. We are still in the talking and negotiating part, and that I find worrying.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
What about private investment? Some that say it can't all be left to government, and that we need private investors. Where do you see them fitting in? Are they in a position to invest now?
I think that it is significant for us to have private investment. Private enterprise, whether it is local or foreign or regional, must do its part in developing this country. We hear the government speak of the doing business report, but we also hear the brushing aside of the consumer confidence index. We have got to make sure that, one, we have an environment where people feel comfortable to spend, where they think that the process of growth and development has started, and where they feel welcome, if they are foreign or regional, to come in and do business. And I don't think that environment exists at present. Can we blame the government entirely? No, but the government does have a role to play in this. And the government must take a significant portion of the blame in creating that environment, because I believe government is a facilitator. Government doesn't have to do and isn't expected to do everything, but they must facilitate and create the environment necessary for investment. And this government has not done that.
Okay.
Well, I want to disagree with my friend that the government has not created the atmosphere. Funds for private sector investment is virtually non-existent. I am sure you would be fully aware of that, because only last week I was discussing with one of your co-partners the obtaining of private sector funds. That is almost non-existent, as I indicated. You know, as I said, the world is at such a stage that no one is spending, right? I mean, I can give you 4 examples of projects which I felt, from all the information at my disposal, were going to start in 2010 or 2011. Notwithstanding extensive negotiations with banks and financial institutions, none of them, not a single one, have agreed to loan any money, right? Individuals who may have funds at their disposal, again, are holding back. And it is a factor of what is happening in the United States and Europe. Okay? Again, there is a fair chance that 2 private sector projects would get going later in the year. There's a fair chance. But it is after lengthy discussions, making all sorts of concessions to the people who are going to invest. I mean, and I could confirm that in Grenada, for example, you could probably walk into a commercial bank and get a loan at an interest rate of 8, 9, maximum 10%. These people who are thinking of investing, the rates they're thinking about is almost impossible. 15, 16%. So you see the kind of difficulties that private sector individuals, would be facing. So, to say that the atmosphere is not good for private sector investment, I disagree with you. I believe that the government has done a considerable amount. In fact, they have also introduced a new investment code to facilitate investment. Funds are just non-existent, so nothing can be done at this point in time, really. Right? There are a few small projects around, a few. But it is a sign of the times.
To say that funds are non-existent, I think, is not true. to say that funds are not being made available to Grenada, government of Grenada, or to Grenada private sector, or by the Grenada private sector, would be true. So the funds are there, and it goes back to exactly what I was saying. The environment is not there, so that those who have funds are calling on the 15 and 16% or so to lend the government of Grenada or to lend the private institutions, because they see right now Grenada as high risk in terms of, if I have to put my money in here, I don't see the environment as yet, so I'm putting my money in at 15. If the environment were different, then they would be contemplating a lower rate, because the lower rates are being offered and being acquired in other projects throughout the region. They're coming in here and saying, listen, we don't see any significant thing happening outside of our project. We seem to be the only show in town if we come into town. And we don't have anything else, or you are unable to tell us if anything else is going to happen when we come into town, so that there will be added value or so. So we have a high risk, so we are asking for the 15%. If we had a more proactive environment, if we had a more productive environment where the individuals could see, okay, things are about to happen in Grenada. There is a change in the environment, and we think we should get in at this point in time, then you would get those type of investors coming in. But it doesn't augur well if all that is being spoken about is criticism of previous foreign investors, and most recently, the acquiring or reacquiring of a project that involved a foreign investor. Whether or not you like the way in which the details of that transaction occurred, whether or not you can see the benefits of that transaction, it does not augur well to simply say that we are looking to acquire that project from that foreign investor and bring it back into the hands of the government of Grenada. And on the flip side, you're going to come and say, well, we really are looking for foreign investors to come into Grenada.
Now, probably you might want to enunciate what risk investors face when they come into a Grenada.
A rate on their return.
Yeah.
If an investor gives the government of Grenada money, or if an investor partners with the government of Grenada, and the investor does not believe that the government of Grenada has the ability, manpower, resources, or intelligence to deliver, the investor is going to see it as a higher risk. And the investor is going to say, all right, you, the government of Grenada, you are asking me to come in. These are the things I want, because I think it's riskier, as opposed to, I think it's a sure deal, and I am asking you, I am begging you to come in and invest. And you are in a position where you have created an environment that makes all of the foreign investors, all of the local investors feel welcome. And you are actually able to pick and choose which projects, which investors are in the best interest of the country as a whole and development of the country.
No, but what I was thinking about when I asked about risk, thinking private sector, purely private sector, right? The government has set the atmosphere, right? The climate for investment. Private sector, right? For example, someone coming in to build a hotel or to go into a car retail business or something like that. What I'm saying is that these investors are non-existent. People,
investors are there, Mr. Joseph. The government,
where are they?
The environment that the government
Where
has
are they?
set is not
Where
enough.
are they?
The government needs to do a little bit more.
But what has changed from 2005
The government.
to now?
The government.
Right?
The government has
And you
changed
have
in
a more
2008.
proactive, respected government. Right?
Well,
This is what exists now.
It depends on what side of the government table you sit on that. But obviously to the foreign investor, it has not been a positive change.
Well, I tend to differ because I am aware that a lot of private sector individuals are out there nibbling. The facts are they are unable to raise the necessary financing except in very difficult circumstances. We're talking about, Grenada have problems. Barbados has the same thing. And Barbados is the most liberal of the countries in the Caribbean, right?
Barbados has seen a decline in its private and foreign investment.
Like
But
all the rest of the islands.
government and Barbados economy is still producing something.
Negative
Their
growth.
growth rates are
Negative
less
growth.
or negative. But if
Negative
you go
growth.
to Barbados, you will still see activity you will see their government producing, and you will see their private sector producing. I agree they would not be producing along the levels of 2005 or pre-2008, but they are producing. And that is what we're not seeing here.
We're going to discuss this at another time.
And also, because the Prime Minister also spoke about the company that wants to come in and start producing chocolate in Grenada. So we'd have a second chocolate company. I believe they're already an established chocolate company, but want to start producing here using our cocoa. This has to be a positive thing.
He mentioned the name of the area that it was going to happen in his speech.
Well, there is a factory under construction in Victoria, right? That is well on its way. It is a private sector investment in which the Cocoa Association is involved. Manufacturing should start there pretty soon, and that most of the equipment is already on site. If that isn't confidence, then tell me what is.
Well, I think if
Tell
you
me
have,
why
if you have
Barron
to
Foods
turn-
came to Grenada
When
about
did
2 years
Barron
ago.
Foods come, Mr.
About 2 years ago.
Okay, so what
Yeah.
else has happened since
Private
then? One
sector
other factory?
investment.
Are you honestly going to use the fact that Barron Foods came 2 years ago and a chocolate factory is coming now as a reflection of confidence in the government?
Of course it must be. It can't be
I
nothing
think
else.
you set your standards too low.
It can't be nothing else. In the current circumstances, it's the best thing that could have taken place.
We do have one question on BBM that I want to ask, or that I've been asked to ask, I should say, by one of our viewers. Is it that the present administration is sleeping, or are they laying the groundwork to all that will commence in March? Why wait till then when the fact of the matter is they are uncertain of a second term?
I think that's a good question.
Well, you see, like my good friend here, I have no political aspirations, you know. so I don't know where this question has really come from. So I think our friend should better answer it, because I cannot talk for and on behalf of the government, right? I am not in the political directorate. Let me make it clear, right?
Well, I think let's start that question off the way the Prime Minister ended, by saying that he looked forward to a successful 2012. I think we all look forward to a successful 2012. It's just we have varying opinions as to how to achieve a successful 2012. I personally believe successful 2012 would mean an election in 2012.
Okay.
The sooner the better. Others may think differently, but we all are looking at the same thing. We would like to see the economic situation in Grenada change. It's just how we believe that situation can be changed. As to whether the government is sleeping, yes, I do believe the government is sleeping. But I will acknowledge that there are others who may be closer to the government, who may be closer to what the government is doing, that may think that the government is not sleeping. To them, they need to give us a little more information so that we can change our opinion, or the public at large can change their opinion. But so far, the government is sleeping because there isn't much activity happening. There's a lot of talk. So there's sleep talking, but there's not much activity.
Okay, well, gentlemen, I want to thank both of you for coming in and sharing your sides. I hope to see you again soon. I said that to you on Monday. You're back 2 days
back
later,
again.
so you're listening well.
I think you
and-
should give me a permanent chair or so. Let me have you host the program.
Yeah, you have a
You
chair
gotta get it
with your name on it.
I see
and
he's campaigning for it. I mean, he wants elections. He can't wait. But, you know, he may get a shock yet.
I'm proactive in leading up to the elections, as I will be proactive after the elections.
And Mr. Joseph, I want to thank you for
Very
coming
welcome.
in, for sure. I know that it was a little bit short notice, and we surprised you a little bit by asking you to come on. But thank you very, very much for coming in
Very welcome indeed, sir.
and trying to shed some light on a few things.